All right, so good afternoon. This is just to clear up our understanding when it comes to finding the Q1, the quartile, the first quartile, the second quartile, the third quartile, and so on, given a group, like a group of numbers. Now, let's say they give you like a group of numbers. Now, the group of numbers may vary. It might be 50 numbers, 20 numbers, 100 numbers. We don't know, right? Well, whatever they give us, we can't find it. We can use this method in order to just to understand it. Now, let's pretend in ascending order, I listed all of my numbers. Right, so I listed all of my numbers in ascending order. Right, so this is my first. And this is my last number here. And I arranged my numbers in either ascending or descending. Right, so we ordered all of them. Because we know if we have to find a median of a number, of numbers, sorry, if we have to find a median of numbers, we have to order them into ascending or descending order. So let's say I was given some numbers, it's already in ascending or descending. Now, if I want to find out the number in the middle of all my numbers, I know that is known as my median. Now, with statistics, we can break up our data into different parts, right? And in this case, we could call it quartiles, right? So quartiles are basically parts of a group of numbers. Now, the median, right? So if I break up my numbers into 3 quartiles, right? So 3 quartiles, I will have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts, right? Where quartile 2 is also known as my median. So that's the number that is in the middle of all the numbers given. So the median, we call that Q2, which is half of all the numbers given. Now, with respect to the quartiles, I can take the numbers. So I know what is the median. We've been finding the median for quite a while. Now, in order for us to find Q1, I can take all of the numbers which are before my median, and I could find the midpoint of that. Now, of all the numbers, the midpoint of the first half of numbers is actually a quarter of all the numbers given. Right, so that's midpoint of the first half of my numbers is actually a quarter of all the numbers given. So we call that Q1. Sorry. Now let's say Q3. Q3 is actually where I look at all the numbers that is after the median to the last digit, and I find the number that is midway between that. Now, before that midpoint of the second half of the numbers, I would have had 1, 2, 3 parts. So it's actually 3/4 of all the numbers given that we're considering. Now, your Q2 or your median gives the position of the number which is midway of all the numbers. Your Q1 gives the position of the number which is 1/4, located 1/4 away of all the numbers given. And then your Q3 gives the position of the number which is 3/4 of the way of all the numbers given. All right. Now, they might ask us questions such as finding the interquartile range. Now, the interquartile range, inter, we can say that that means within the quartiles. Now, by definition, the interquartile range, it tells you the spread or the numbers within the middle half of your distribution. Right, so if they ask for the interquartile range, now I have 4, I've divided my data into 4 parts. So my interquartile range is actually going to be this region here. So if I'm looking for my interquartile range, we have a formula. Now, if I want to find out what's going on inside of here, I want to reduce all my data to what's inside of here alone. I can use the formula Q3 minus Q1 in order to get information of what's within it. So my interquartile range is found by saying Q3 minus Q1. On a test paper, you might see it referred to as IQR, right? But that means interquartile range. And it's just the Q3. So you have to find Q3, take away, you find your Q1, and that difference is the interquartile range. Then, after this, they might also ask you to find the semi-quartile range, semi-interquartile range. Now, when I see the word semi, I always like to link my words in order to help me to remember. So like semi, I'll say semicircle. But semicircle, if I say semicircle, that's half of the circle. So semi interquartile range is actually half of my interquartile range. And remember, my interquartile range is Q3 minus Q1. So I can find half of whatever was my Q3 minus my Q1. All right, so let's say they gave us some values. Now, you know, if you have to find the median and so on, and it's numbers that you can order them yourself, meaning it doesn't require a frequency table, right? You know, you either put it in ascending or descending order. So I'm going to give you numbers which were given to us using in ascending order one time. All right, so let's say they gave us a group of numbers. So what we're working on is understanding what is meant by the quartiles, interquartiles, the range, etc. All right, so let's say they gave us these. And they asked us, okay, find Q1, Q2, Q3. They ask you also to find the interquartile range. And then they ask us to find the semi-interquartile range. I just doing it short term, right? All right, so the median, you know, if you're given a number of numbers like this, we can find on both ends. We can cancel on both ends until we get to the middle. So we'll have cancel, 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 cancel. So I got 72 at the middle. Now, in some cases, you might get an even number of numbers. And you know, if you have two numbers in the middle, you find the average of the two. So this here is the median. And this is what we call Q2. Now, the median, which is Q2, is 72. That's the number in the middle position. Now, to find Q1, remember, you're going to take all the numbers which are before the median, and you're going to find the midpoint of that. So we cancel, 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 and I got 57. So this here is Q1. So my Q1 is 57. And then if I want to find Q3, which is half of the second half, so I cancel, 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 and I got my Q3 as 81. Now, let's say they give you a frequency table. Right, so we're going to pretend that this information was presented in a frequency table, the same thing. Now, remember, given the table, you were taught that in order to find the median using a frequency table, you'll find right? So I'm just trying to link the two here. So if they gave us a frequency table and they asked us to find the median, so let's say this was presented in a table form. Now, in order to find the median, you have to find the position of the middle number. Using the formula a half of all of your numbers. Right, so if we have to find a median, we're going to find half of all of the numbers that we have, which is a half of the frequency. So what we can do, right, so it's a half of all of the numbers or a half of the total frequency. So basically you have to add up all of the frequency. So this is if you're given a table, right? So you add the frequency and find half of it. This gives the position, right? And you have to make that clear. That's why I'm writing it twice. So this gives the position. So let's say they gave us it like this. So I'm going to add up all of my numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I have 11. Sorry, it's a half of the n plus 1. Right? So in order to find the position, it's a half times the numbers plus 1. So I had 11 numbers, so I'm going to add 1. So 11 add 1 is 12. So when I find half of that, so half of 12 is equal to 6. So that means the number which is in the 6th position, is my median. So that's why we could go back to our table now. And we could check to see what was the 6th number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I found out that my 6th number is 72. Now that's if you're given a table, it could go back like that. Now it's the same to find your Q1, your Q2, and your Q3. So to find the Q2, if you're given a frequency table, we found out what was half of all of the numbers plus 1, right? So that's to find the position of it. That is that number that you find, that 6, is not the median, it's the position, right? So I go through my frequency now and I locate which one of the numbers is in that position, the 6th position of the frequency. And in this case, I got 72. Next, if I had to find Q1. Now Q1 is simply, we understand that it's a quarter. It's the number which is in the quarter position. So you do the same. And I find out what is a quarter of n plus 1. So I had 11 numbers. Add 1, so it's 12. And I found a quarter of 12. And a quarter of 12 was 3. So that number that was in Q1 was in the 3rd position. 1, 2, 3. And if I have to find Q3, I know that's the one that is in the position of 3/4 of all the numbers in the data. So that will be 3/4 of the n plus 1. So same thing, that will be 3/4 of 12 in this case. So 4 could go into 12 3 times, 3 3s are 9. So it's the 9th number. So you could check using your frequency table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I look for my number that is in the 9th position. And I got 81. Now, that's if you have a frequency table. If it's normal data like this, we could find it just how we did it before. Now, if I have to find the interquartile range, it's a formula. Whatever was Q3 minus, so it'll be Q3 minus Q1. So it's going to be Q3 was 81 minus Q1, which was 57. We could use a calculator. 81 minus 57, I got 24. So my interquartile range is 24. And if I have to find the semi-interquartile range, remember semi-interquartile range that's going to be 1/2 of my interquartile range, which is 1/2 of 24. So I'll get 12. All right, so in a frequency table, right? So we have ones where you might just have a fixed a fixed mark or fixed variable, right? So it might just be one number like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And then there are ones where it's like a group, right? Now, to find the median, the mode, and so on using each of them, either of them, it's going to be the same thing. But what you have to understand is that this represents a group of numbers, right? So for example, 1 to 10, 4 people got between the marks 1 and 10. So from this, remember, this is just like to give you an idea or a number that represents the entire group, right? So for this, let's pretend one person got 5, the next person got 6, and the next person got 2, and the next person got 9, right? So 4 people, 1, 2, 3, 4, got between 1 and 10. 8 people got between 11 and 20. So I'm just randomly doing numbers. So let's say between 11 and 20, let's say 3 people got between 12. One person got 15, and next person got 19, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I just randomly write the numbers. So it comes like this. We grouped it, all of those who were between 1 and 10, I tallied them, so that was 4 people. All the people who got between 11 and 20, I looked for all of those who got between 11 and 20, I tallied it, I got 8 people. Same thing for 25. I mean, for between 21 and 30. So 25 people got between 21 and 30, and so on. Same thing for between 31 and 40. 13 people got between it. So you could imagine it's a list of numbers going down, right? It's all of the numbers going on. So you can imagine the 4 from this range, the 8 from this range, the 25 from this range, and the 13 from this range. So this number here, this frequency, is actually simply telling us that 8 students got between this range. All right. So tell me if you're so far, so good.
Yeah.
All right. Now, in a case like this, we got to understand this part. Now, if we were to add all of these, the frequencies, if I were to add up all of these, that's actually going to give me, right? So by adding up my frequency, that's going to give me the total of all the numbers that I have. Do we understand that? Because remember, if I were to imagine 4 numbers, and then the 8 numbers, and then the 25 from this range, and then the 30. if I were to add up all of that, that's going to give me my numbers of numbers. So adding the frequency will give me the total number of numbers. Now, let's say now, when it comes to, I'm going to replace it with regular numbers for now, just to explain something, and then I'll come back to these. All right, so let's say they gave us these marks. 0, 1, 2, and 3 marks. Now, let's say somebody did like a quiz and was marks out of 3. 4 people got 0. 8 people got 1. 25 people got 2. 13 people got 3 marks. Now, what you have to understand is that, let's say it was like this. This means I have 0 4 times. I have 1 8 times. I have 2 25 times. Now that's going to be torturous if you have to write that out. And it's going to be very time consuming. So let's say they gave us these and they asked you to find the median. Now, in order to find the median, we know that it was a half of the number of numbers plus 1. Now, for me to write out all of these numbers and then check end to end until we cancel, that will be too long. So we can use this formula, which finds the position of the median. Now, if you recall, in the one before, in order to find the position, we added up the number of numbers. Then we add 1 and we found half of it. Now, I can add the 4 numbers from here, plus the 8 of the ones, plus the 25 twos, plus the 13 threes. So I can add up these numbers, which is the frequency, to give me the number of numbers that I have. So that's 4 plus 8 plus 25 plus 13. So I got 50 numbers. So I can find out what is a half of 50 plus 1. And 50 plus 1 that's 51. So I could find out what is half of 51, which is 25.5. Now remember, 50 is an even number, which means I'll have two numbers at my middle. So when I get 25.5, it means that it's going to be between the 25th position and 26th position. Now, in order to find a number in that position, you'd have added or you'd have counted until you reach to the 25th and the 26th number. So you'd have gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you'd have counted going along here. But again, we don't have that time. So what you can do is you could add the frequency until you see you get to that position. So you can add the frequency until we get to that. Right? So let's add the frequency. So the 4 zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4. Plus the 8 ones, that's 12 numbers so far. Right? So if I add these two up to here so far, I have 12. Now 12 add 25 at the end of the 25th number. At the end of the 25th number, I'll have 12 plus 26. So that means at the end of my 25th number, I'll have 38 numbers. So if I'm looking for the number in the 25th and the 26th position, it means it's somewhere in between here. And in between here is only tools. Right? Because remember, from the 9th number to the 38th number is tools. I mean, from the 13th number, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So from the 13th number, which is up to here, and 22s, to the 38th number is 2. So that means the 26th and the 27th number, the 25th and the 26th number is 2. So when I find the average of 2 plus 2, that's 4 over 2, it will be 2. So my median is the number which is in this position, and that will be 2. So I just found my median, which is Q2. So if they ask for Q2, you know it's the median. So same thing you have to do. Now, if I had to find Q1, so I'll do Q1 just to make sure we're clear on it. Now, same thing, but Q1, we understand that that's a quarter number that is in a quarter of the position, a quarter position of all the numbers. So you found what was 50 plus 1, right? So that was a quarter of 51. right? And that was a quarter, 51 was 12.75. So it's going to be the number between the 12th position and the 13th position. So they asked me to find Q1. I need to find out what was the number between the 12th and the 13th position. So you're going to add your frequency until you get there. So 4 plus 8, up to here, I'll have 12 numbers. So my 12th number is 1. And then my 13th number has entered into the tulips, right? So you find the average of the two. In order to find Q1. All right. So you guys, what I'll do is I'll pause up to here and then we'll continue